It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview a former NFL cheerleader by the name of Jada Davis, who was for the Jacksonville Jaguars and for a short time with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. How are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing good. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to be a cheerleader in the NFL?
Well, for me, my story was a little different. A lot of people train for being an NFL cheerleader for years, and some even want to be a cheerleader their whole life. Um, my mom actually cheered for the Bucks in the 80s. And even though, she talked about it, I knew about it, it wasn't something that she continued to push on me. I had just graduated from college in 2013, the end of 2013. And I was applying for grad school, and I was like, while I'm waiting on their response, whether I get approved or not, I'm gonna go ahead and audition for the Bucks. My mom, she actually told me, she's like, oh, I got asked to be a judge for their auditions. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And that's how it kind of like, stirred up in my head, like, oh, maybe I'll try an audition. And at first she was upset because that meant she could no longer judge. But then she was kind of happy that I would be somewhat following in her footsteps yet again. And so 2 weeks before the audition, I tried to get myself as ready as possible, but I was a hot mess express. And I'm very thankful for the coach with the Bucks, Tara, for taking a chance on me um, and allowing me to be on the team and to start that journey.
Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to follow in your mom's footsteps of being a Tampa Bay Buccaneers cheerleader?
Um, well, following in my mom's footsteps, that was more like happenstance. Like I ended up going to the same high school she went to the same college she went to, and then I became a cheerleader with the Bucks. Like she was a cheerleader for the Bucks, and it was just kind of all just timing and place, just me being in Tampa, um, and so yeah, it just my mom's a busybody, so there isn't much that she hasn't done. So it's kind of hard not to follow in her footsteps in some way or another.
Can you talk about what you accomplished with the Jacksonville Jaguars?
Okay, so I moved to Jacksonville in 2016. That was the year I guess I took off transitioning from living in Tampa and coming to Jacksonville. And within my 3 seasons, I cheered the 2017, 18, and 19 seasons. Um, my rookie season here, I was a part of the calendar. I skydived with the SOCOM Commandos. Sorry, that was crazy. Something I thought I would never do, and I definitely won't do it again. But it was amazing. Like it's definitely like a once in a lifetime experience for me. Like I appreciate that I did it. Um, so I did that. I got rookie outstanding talent that year. Um, Second season, went to London 2 times. We had our game there every year. And then that season, a couple months before our game, they had a kickoff event, NFL Games kickoff event. And so there were a few girls from our team that went and a few girls from the Jets that went. And so I was chosen to be a part of that group. We did a few performances, and it was nice to, go, take 2 trips in that year. That was really cool. And then that same year was when I was voted to go to Pro Bowl, which was shocking and like exciting and everything, just because, it was my second year. And that year was really rough because we went from that really high, the 2017 season, like Super Bowl bound, to the 2018 season where we were kind of struggle bus central. Um, yeah, and then my third season, my final season, I went in knowing that that was my last season 100%. And I just soaked up every moment, every appearance, every game, every practice, every like group outing. And, it was just a really good year group wise, and the relationship and everything with the teammates. And it wasn't so much about what was going on the outside and like what we were able to do or where we were able to go. It was more of just that even though we're right here, like this is what's important, what's nice.
That's so wonderful. Can you talk about, of course, the experience, like preparation for game day as a cheerleader?
Yeah, so game day, of course, is our main event, like for everyone. And a lot of planning and preparation goes into that one special day of those 4 hours of being on the field. And that's 3 or 6 hours total of practice a week, sometimes more depending on how many performances we have during the game. So we practice twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, from 6:30 to 10, I believe was the time. Um, and so we would learn routines, clean routines. We of course, had our little runs and getting a little physical activity in there besides just dancing. And so just the blood, sweat, and tears, frustrations that go into learning the routines, perfecting them, and just even having that camaraderie between your teammates, because if that is off, then you're not going to perform well as a group when it comes to game day. And so creating those relationships and that communication, like if I can't hear what you're saying because the stadium gets loud and you have to communicate to this person, we're about to do this dance, and it's like being like focused at all times and like not being distracted, and then being able to catch those cues of like, okay, I can't hear what she's saying, but I know I know what we're about to do because she's giving me those nonverbal cues. And so just learning those and learning formations and movements throughout the game. It's a lot of work. Even for like a minute on the field doing that one routine, we put in hours for that 1 minute. But it's all worth it. It's a lot of preparation, a lot of work, but we get it done.
Can you talk about, of course, what it feels like to see the fans there? And of course, now that there's hardly no fans in the NFL stadiums, of course, due to Corona, what do you think that big difference is like for the cheerleaders now?
Okay. Well, in the good old, I hate to compare sports, like the culture of sports, to religion. But it's kind of like when you have a large group of people and you all share the same quote unquote identity, like if we're all rooting for the same team. And so you share that common identity, you share, it's just a lot of energy. That's the best way to describe it. It's this overwhelming feeling of energy and community and connection with all of these people, and you're all very like high, like, and so you're kind of feeding off of one another, and it's a euphoric high. That's how I'm going to explain it. And I spoke with a few former teammates about how they're doing now because, they can't be on the field. So they're up around like fan zones, where there aren't people, I guess. And so they're kind of like blocked off, and it's not the same experience, but the fact that they're still able to be there and to be able to perform, and the fans can see them on the Jumbotron, it's kind of like, we're here, we're engaging with people, but it's not as big as a feeling as when we had packed stadiums. That's just what, of course, I've been told. I haven't experienced it myself. but yeah, it was definitely weird to think about. Like I was like, how are you doing? Like, how is it out there? So
Can you talk about your time at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
yeah, so my first 2 seasons in the NFL were with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and it was probably because it was my first time and my first experience. Um, but like nothing can compete with like your first time. Like the first time I stepped out on an NFL field, the first time I put on an NFL cheerleader uniform. And it's like I had all these firsts with Bucks. That when I came to Jags, I had kind of already experienced some things. Of course, the organizations are completely different. Um, but like Tampa, just like, it kind of molded me. I was like this fresh, new, like didn't know anything about NFL cheerleading or NFL glam, to like being molded in those 2 seasons to come into Jacksonville with that experience and that maturity that I didn't have with my rookie season. And so I feel like I grew a lot in Tampa. I had I won't say more experiences than I had in Jacksonville, because that's not true. Jacksonville gave me a lot of opportunities and experiences. But again, I think it's just that being exposed that first time in Tampa, I guess, had a bigger impact on me and my growth as an individual within making that transition. So I really enjoyed that time in Tampa. I didn't want to leave. I cried like a baby. And it's home. It's your home team. So yeah, I'm not saying it was my favorite.
What does cheerleaders do outside of the NFL?
So outside of the NFL, there's a wide spectrum. The women on cheer teams are so diverse. There are women who are students, of course. There are women who are mothers, who are teachers, doctors, nurses. And it's just this vast array of smart, intelligent, strong, courageous women who have these amazing careers and pursuits outside of cheer, and then take the time to come multiple times a week to a practice to show an above and beyond kind of support of their team. And so it's like fandom on a whole different level. So it's like, I love this team, and I'm not just going to come to a game. I love this team so much that I'm going to dedicate hundreds of hours outside of what I do in regular life to even progress and be an ambassador for them on a bigger scale. And it's that sacrifice that I think really puts the cheerleaders on a completely different level. Like, because the players, they're ambassadors for the team. They're the face of the team. They are the team, and they're getting, all the recognition, and rightfully so. They put in the work. Like, that's what you come to the game for, is to watch the game. But it's different when you're being compensated to a certain degree for that work. Like, not saying we are working as much as the players, because we're not, like, at all. But the amount of work we do put in, and then you compare that to the amount that we're compensated, we know, that we're doing this because we love it and we love the team, and it's not for anything else.
What is some stuff that you did outside of being a cheerleader in your 5 years in the NFL?
Oh, I've done multiple jobs over those 5 years. I worked at a Crispers when I first started. I was a records assistant. I was a nanny. I was a teacher, Pure Bar instructor. And so, like, I've actually done a lot of things. And that's fine. That's totally cool. It's a lot of experiences. And now I've transitioned into, I'm a personal trainer and a certified health coach. And so I have my own business. called PomsUP Health and Fitness, but I'm also a pharmacy technician. And again, that's another thing us NFL cheerleaders do. We wear multiple hats. And I think it's just something that we love to do.
Can you talk about your business that you started up and what it's about?
Yeah. So again, with my background in health and fitness, and then my, decision to retire from NFL cheerleading, and speaking to a lot of my friends who have either had just retired or had retired the year before, and them expressing the struggles that they were going through, whether it be like the loss of their cheer body or feeling FOMO, like missing out of all the opportunities and outings with their former teammates. And, it resonated with me with that year I had off in between teams. When I moved, I was a wreck. Like, I went from having so much structure and seeing my friends all the time to all of that just being completely gone. And like, there was no transition. I just went from like this to this. And some of us go through it and it's a lot easier for others. But I wanted PomsUP to be that bridge to help women go from the life of cheering to a quote unquote normal life, post cheer life. Like, what does that look like? How do I become a regular person? What do I do with my Tuesday and Thursday nights? Like, how do I, continue to want to take care of myself and my body if I'm not wanting to be in a two-piece, out in front of thousands of fans? If I don't have to do that anymore, then like, how do I maintain that level of health? And so that's what PomsUP is all about. And, allowing them to have a space to talk about it in that community, being able to continue to dance with classes and fitness classes. And so that's what PomsUP does.
That's a wonderful business idea. Can you talk about the process and, of course, the trade between going to different NFL teams? Do you get traded or do you like just pick which team you want to go to?
We pick. We don't have we're not in a like exclusive contract like players are. Again, we aren't valued as highly, so we go where and we audition. It's not even a guarantee. So I moved to Jacksonville for a job, and my now husband as well. And so when I first moved, I said I wasn't going to audition for the Jags, just because I have loyalty issues. And I didn't want to switch teams. I just felt that whole loyalty thing just didn't sit well with me. But again, I had that really rough year and I felt like I needed that type of structure in my life and I wanted to dance again. But it wasn't a guarantee that I was going to make the team. Again, like I could move to, let's say if me and my husband decided to move to Denver, I would have to audition if I wanted to be on the team. And me having that experience on other teams, it may help me in that audition process, but there's no guarantee. The coaches or the judges could choose not to have me on that team, and that's their decision, and that's fair, and that's their right. It is a privilege to be on a team, and people work their butt off to, audition and try for that spot. And so, yeah, we don't get to just choose. It's kind of like, yeah, I want to move to this place, and yeah, I may want to be on this team, but I got to work for it, and I got to earn that spot. And if there are girls that work harder and look better and are better fitted for that position, then they get it and I don't.
Can you talk about the first time that you put on your NFL cheerleading jersey and what was that like?
The first time I put on the uniform was probably for like the poster shoot that we do. If you see that, I think that one is my first poster shoot there in the background with Bucks. And it was kind of like this weird experience because again, I had to learn the glam. I grew up as more of like a tomboy. And so rhinestones and eyelashes and all that was just like foreign. And so I put the uniform on, and it's like this gorgeous, bedazzled, and you know it's like it's not a cheap thing. Like those uniforms are expensive. Like I don't know if you realize, but it's like $500 like each piece type thing. And so it's just like, oh my gosh. And then you think about all the hard work you put in, and you think about all the girls who you've met on your journey and audition process, that it means so much. Like this is an honor. Like I get to wear this, like this is mine. And then like when you actually see yourself and you see those photos and you're like, wow, like that's me. And it's almost like putting on like this superhero cape. And so like you're wearing this and you're just like, oh my gosh, like this is so cute. I feel so confident and so powerful. And then and again, it's more than just how you see yourself in that uniform as well, because you have like little kids who look at you and they're like, oh my gosh, like, oh, they're like losing their minds. And you realize like how powerful like wearing this is. Like I'm no longer just Jada. I'm Jada plus this cheerleader Jada that, you know, people see and they're just like completely just like, ah. So yeah.
Can you talk about how the process of being a cheerleader, like for example, is the show, the Dallas show with the cheerleaders on it, is that a more accurate version of what a cheerleader actually does?
I don't want to answer this question wrong. So again, like how I said, how with my experience, Bucks and Jags are completely different organizations. Every organization is different, and they have their own traditions, their own audition processes. Um, and so even though there are certain similarities, like we all have practices, we all have game days, we all have appearances outside of game day. Um, the things in between are all a little bit different. Um, so the DCC making the team show it isn't how all teams are, but I guess it gives you a good idea of the, you know, if you take the bigger pictures of those episodes, it's kind of the same. So like, yes, we all have open auditions. Yes, we all have cuts. Yes, we all have finals. But yeah, again, every organization is different. So
What are some of your future plans whenever it comes to your business?
future plans, I am launching a podcast as well in the new year. I haven't announced it to my following yet, but we're launching PomsUP, the podcast, and it's going to be more interview style as well, speaking with other former cheerleaders, whether they've been out the game 5 months or 10 years, and just seeing what they're doing now, how they've fared in their transition, things that they've done to help, and just talking about it, because a lot of people don't. And so you feel alone in this transition where you're like, I don't know what to do next. And I don't know, maybe I don't really know who I am without, you know, that cheer Jada. Like, so PomsUP is, in the PomsUP podcast is going to talk more about that to address it and hopefully help a lot of women.
That's a wonderful idea. Who are some of the people that you plan on interviewing in the podcast?
Ooh, that's a secret. I can't tell you, but I can tell you, I won't give you names, but I will tell you, there's a doctor of clinical psychology, another business owner, registered dietitians, coaches, just a vast array of women. Again, like I said earlier, with the types of jobs that these women have in their careers and their professions, it extends even further into alumnihood.
Are you going to also look at more like NBA cheerleaders along with NFL cheerleaders in this
Yes,
podcast?
exactly. Yeah. So PomsUP, it's more than just, of course, because of my experience with just NFL and again with Poms, a lot of NBA teams, they do Pom routines, but they do more without. And so I didn't want to leave. We share similar experiences. There's a lot of crossover. There are some girls who go from NFL to NBA, some that go from NBA to NFL. We're all teams. We work with teams. We cheer for teams. And so we share a lot of similar experiences. And so I grouped us together, former pro team cheerleaders and dancers. And so I'm working with both.
That's a wonderful idea. What advice would you give upcoming cheerleaders looking to get into the NFL or even the NBA?
The advice I would give is to, one, stay true to yourself. This is what I say all the time. You don't have to try and fit a mold of what you think they want you to be, because that's going to come off disingenuous and you're not going to enjoy it because you're too busy trying to be someone else. Where if you stay true to yourself, people will see that, people value that, and you'll have the most fun. You'll have a better chance when you try and just be yourself and the best version of yourself, and to never give up. Like if what you want is to be on a team or even a specific team, find out what that team, their style, their look, and find how that fits you, and then bring that forward. So if you see a team is more groovy, you're going to have to figure out how to find your groove. If you find a team that's more sharp and they're more in precision in movements and technique, take some classes, up your game. And then, always still bring your flair to it. And then you're going to stand out because you don't look like everyone else. And you're like, wow, like this girl, she has everything we need. She has the technique, the precision, she has her style, and like, oh my gosh, like the whole package. And there will never be another you. So be yourself and work hard.
That's wonderful advice. What advice would you give cheerleaders transitioning from, of course, cheerleading into the real world after cheerleading?
I would say get plugged into community. Find something like, shameless plug here, PomsUP, where you can still find what brings you joy, where you're still dancing and quote unquote performing. And then you're able to have someone or multiple people there who either are going through it with you or have been there before and can help coach you through that. So you're not just stuck on social media looking at all of your friends who are still on the team and being like, oh, I wish I was there. I wish I still looked like this. I wish, and transition your sight towards what's ahead of you. And I would like to use the rearview mirror analogy, where there's a reason why that mirror is a lot smaller than your windshield, because you should be more focused on what's ahead of you and what's right in front of you versus what used to be and what's in the past.
That's wonderful advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media along with your podcast at?
Well, you can find me on Instagram at PomsUP Health and Fitness. And when I start posting about the podcast, it's going to be on that account as well. I'm also on Facebook, facebook.com/PomsUP Health and Fitness again. And that's how you can find me and connect with me. Or you could reach out on my personal Instagram as well, Jada Nicole, and then the letter D. And yeah.
Thank you again, Jada, for your interview, and best of luck in your future with your business that is coming up.
Thank you so much, Brandon. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Jada, for your interview, and best of luck.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.